The movie adaptation for Primitive War will be releasing sometime this summer. It is at the front of everybody's minds, including myself. I'm pretty excited for this movie overall, especially considering the fact that I just finished the book. In my video about the Primitive War trailer, I asked if you guys would like to see some content about the book, and many of you said that you would like to see that, which I'm very happy about. So now the plan is to make a few different videos discussing various different topics about just the first book, because I haven't read the rest of the books. Not yet, anyway. And today I want to focus on the Raptors, because the Raptors are easily the biggest part of the book. They are probably like the main antagonists, so to speak. And so they really hog a lot of the spotlight. And I have to say that they are probably among my favorite portrayals of raptors in media. They were done so well in this book. They utilized a lot of really terrifying concepts and just a lot of like typical animal behavior that is really overall extremely memorable. We focus on two different types of raptors, that being the Deinonychus and the Utah raptor. The Deinonychus, of course, is smaller than Utah raptor, but it is utilized incredibly well. What I loved is how they were shown as kind of like tree climbing raptors. Now I love that because that is suspected for Deinonychus in real life. It's suspected that Deinonychus would be able to climb trees and then jump down onto its prey. It would then use its talons essentially to dig into its prey, using its arms to balance while it tears into its unfortunate victim with its mouth. Kind of similar to how birds of prey do today. And so I love that that was something that was implemented here, really highlighted when they were attacking the group of Stygimolochs. Also, by the way, side note, I think we might see Deinonychus in the Primitive War trailer, like for the movie. I completely missed this, but there's a shot where you see Boots walking around like a trail or something, and you could see all of these glowing eyes in the darkness. I have no idea how I missed that, but now that I notice it, it's very, very creepy, and there's a good chance that that's like a group of Deinonychus, and I love that. I think that's so cool. But of course, the biggest raptors in the book were the Utah raptors. These were also the main raptors, the main threat. The Utah Raptors had a fantastic portrayal here. What I absolutely love the most is that they were portrayed as these silent ambush hunters. It's likely that Utah Raptor was an ambush hunter because it doesn't have the proper adaptations for long pursuits. Rather, it would be able to, pull off quick little bursts of speed. And so it would have to sneak up on its prey and then attack from that point on. And it was portrayed like that. I love how incredibly silent it is. A lot of times when someone catches a glimpse of Utah Raptor in the book, it's described as just being incredibly silent as it just moves through the foliage. Very terrifying. I love the idea that you're in a situation where there's just, there's a huge group of people and nobody knows that they're in danger until someone gets drug off because no one heard anything and nobody saw anything. And the color of their feathers certainly do help with that too. It's described as this sort of green iridescent coloration that helps it blend in with the rest of the jungle. Again, something that allows them to really sneak up on their prey and then just drag them off into the jungle while everybody else just watches helplessly. It really reminds me of the long grass scene in the Lost World Jurassic Park, but the key difference is that when they would attack them in the Jurassic Park, they would start making noises. Whereas the Utah Raptor in the book, once it drags you off, it's just still completely silent. It doesn't want to draw attention to itself. There was also this really cool moment where it had one of our main characters, like it had already just pretty much messed him up. And it was about to start eating him or deal a killing blow, but the rest of the group starts approaching. And what the Utah Raptor does is instead of like attacking the rest of these people, it simply just covers up its prey and tries to blend in, and it tries to be as silent as it possibly can, so as to not attract any attention to itself. And they're basically like a meter away from it, and they don't even know this. I like that because, again, it makes it feel like an animal that's simply just trying to protect its kill while also avoid confrontation. Try to get away with having a meal with very little bloodshed on its part. Also in Jurassic Park fashion, they are portrayed as kind of like pack hunters. Of course, we don't really have any evidence for pack hunting in non-avian dinosaurs like that. Mob mentality is probably a lot more likely. It's just unlikely that they were pack hunters. But still, it is something that helps add to the overall terrifying nature of these animals because, again, much like Jurassic Park, they were incredibly intelligent and able to a sort of like set up traps or kind of coordinate their hunts and just be a huge thorn in the side of the main characters. Now, the main Utah raptor is Cyclops. Cyclops is a Utah raptor that gets a knife stabbed into their eye, making them a one-eyed wonder. That's also something that I really like because it allows you to kind of get I suppose attached to a single Utah raptor instead of just having them all be kind of like faceless creatures in the night. So it kind of like gives you something to go against, essentially. This is also something that we will be seeing in the live action or in the movie adaptation as we see Cyclops, as we see Cyclops front and center in this shot right here. And so really what my biggest hope right now is that the adaptation of this book does the Raptors correctly. It portrays them in such a way that they're basically just silent hunters that will just drag you off into the night. Because we have a lot of dinosaur media out there. And a lot of times with predatory animals in dinosaur media, they always announce themselves. They'll roar, they'll screech, they'll do something to make it look cool for the camera before they attack. I want something that is just incredibly dead silent, that'll just sneak up on our main characters and just drag them off into the night. That is way more terrifying to me, and it is grounded in some realism. It was even mentioned in the book that like you could still tell when a Utah raptor was nearby because the entire jungle would just go completely silent. You wouldn't hear any birds, you wouldn't hear any other animals, you wouldn't hear any bugs, any insects. Everything was just dead silent, which is kind of based in some reality because a lot of times you can tell when a large predator is nearby if the surrounding environment is quiet, because most animals they're trying to not, draw any attention to themselves. They're trying to survive. And so seeing that on the big screen, I think, would also be really terrifying and just fantastic to see overall. Now, we don't get to see too much of the Raptors in the teaser, but we can piece together what they're going to look like. So, of course, we see this shot. Overall, it looks pretty decent aside from the teeth. And again, I do appreciate that Cyclops is present here. But in this shot, where you can see the giant foot, you can see what looks like the proper coloration, this sort of green coloration with an iridescent sheen, some highlights of blue. So that might hint at the fact that we're going to get an overall faithful adaptation of the Raptors in this. I just hope that it's going to be on the same level as they were in the book. So this was a little bit more of a ramble video. I really did like the book. I think the book was just a fantastic read overall. I really like how it emphasized things like the horrors of war while also giving you a really cool kind of dinosaur story, all just kind of mixed into the Vietnam War. It was overall just a very, very fun read, and I seriously do hope that the movie is going to be on the same level. I'm really excited for more dinosaur projects that aren't just related to the Jurassic franchise, and I'm pretty excited for this. So what do you guys think of the Raptors in Primitive War? Are you excited to see them on the big screen, or are you just not excited for some reason? Be sure to let me know down below, and if you're interested in dinosaur-related content, please consider subscribing, and if you want to help support the channel, please consider checking out my Patreon. But that's pretty much all I have for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have an awesome day.